All right, gang. Anybody want to hop in? Tell me how your practice of surrender is going. Jennifer.
I want to say that that was so beautiful. And that would have made an incredible commencement speech college. It's everything I want all of our children to hear. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I hope my children will listen to that.
All right. Well, feel free to play it for them. And
Thank
it's not what people usually say a graduation speech, is it? There's all this kind of future stuff and stuff about how to make your way in the world, which is appropriate. But yeah, the message of wow, what's actually here and now is what matters.
And what calls you is what's so important.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
What calls you and isn't coming from fear or lack, which is a form of fear, I suppose. All right.
Um, when you talk about what's calling you, and it makes me think about developing discernment, right? Kind of learning about maybe the difference between desire and calling.
Yes.
I think that's a piece of it too. That as you practice, that's kind of part of what you're developing is to kind of hone in, tune the radio a little bit and hone in like, oh, that signal. Okay, that's that kind of signal. That's coming from that place. Okay, it's not coming from some other place. Yeah.
You know how in real estate they say what's important are three things: location, location, and location. I think in spiritual practice, there are three things that are important: discernment, discernment, and discernment. You know, actually knowing what's happening and discerning where it's coming from. It's all important. Yeah, our minds can dish out desires all over the place. And then we have a whole industry called advertising that's trying to, feed us with thoughts of what we need, what there is out there to desire, to have, to do. Yeah, it's quite a setup we have here in our consumer society.
I can,
Calling? Is anybody calling? Anybody talking about calling? Outside of churches and spiritual groups, not you don't hear that very much. What really feels like your heart is calling you to do? Yeah, Diane.
I think in one of the first classes I ever did with you, you talked about wholesomeness, and when you mentioned inner GPS, um, so sometimes discerning can be very cognitive, and I can struggle with discerning, but
If you
other
go to your head, yes.
yes, I'm in my head spiraling and too many options, and it's like the craziest algorithm. But that I come back to just this indescribable feeling. Sometimes it feels wholesome, or it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, and that
It's a,
can
it's
sometimes
a,
be more helpful to me.
exactly. I think it's what you said is well stated. It's a felt sense of wholesomeness, and it is simple and immediate, and it doesn't have to come with a whole lot of like cognitive apparatus. Yes. Thanks. That really helps clarify it, I think. Who knows? We might have to do another class on wholesomeness again. It's such a great topic. All right, tennis.
Since it's the last class and we have a whole summer, I probably would not uh uh bring this up except the thank you part of it, which is the beginning. Um, because I haven't had very much distance on it, or this has been for me a very compressed year in terms of what I think of hard things, kind of when it rains, it pours
Yeah.
year. And unfortunately, since I was turning 81 from 80, some of it, which was an illness I have, I just ignored. And I'm a very healthy person. I know you go to the doctor. Anyway, I don't want to get too into that, but I will say anybody, especially if you're getting older, don't just think that you're too stressed or you're not exercising enough or you're not eating right. I mean, those things are all to be looked at. But I would say that about my whole year plus, which did not put me in a good place to deal with some hard things. But what I wanted to say really was thank you, Mark, and for this group and previous groups I've been in, earlier groups. Some people repeated, and I love that. Um, Over many years with not a great practice on my part, but enough, I guess, from life and getting older, and but a lot from meditation, from the words spoken in here, to feel through a series of hard things all year. And the latest was within the last 2 weeks. And that was dealing with the death, unexpected, of my youngest sister, who is 9 years younger than I am, my baby sister. And I have three other siblings, and I'm the eldest. And looking back, there were certainly some reasons she did not have. Um, she she was troubled, and but it's like, and I'll just throw one out. But another is, and I brought this up before, is I have. My husband and I have had, which brought great joy, a granddaughter, and a total surprise from a daughter who had a difficult journey herself, and but is good and had a late child, and so we have a late grandchild, and and our other child does not have children. Anyway, and she had during this year, and she was diagnosed about 3 years ago with Alzheimer's, not Alzheimer's, autism. And she was re-diagnosed as she is ready now at 5 to go into school. And this year, right before I was doing my last kind of group having to do with my work, which is theater, and I was going to, it was, and get my second knee replaced. Anyway, it all piled up. The latest is my sister's death. So, but what I wanted to say is that through all that, I felt, Mark and other people, I felt glimmers and openings off and on. And a couple of those were that with my sister's death, there were some issues, some estrangements with her son, and he came through. Now that helped me tremendously, even though I was not able to see her before she died. And so that some of it was, things worked out. But, and as Mark says, but that feels very profound to me. And when I think of summing up what my year was, it was, I won't say it was one of the most awful. I've lived a lot of years, but it was very compressed, nonstop. And I had chronic pain from a neck thing, but it was the most compressed. And I was dealing with,
A lot. You were dealing with a lot.
well, and arthritis.
And yeah. And
But
it's remarkable that you can say there were these glimmers, these moments
Mhm.
where there was something else just okay with it all. Yes, you've touched that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And in a way, the glimmers helped me get through the next.
Yeah.
So that's enough.
All right. Beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks.
The other thing, your share leads me to just reflect on, I think that why we practice and why we do these sorts of classes and listen to the Dharma and do meditation is we're getting ready for sickness, old age, and death. These are the three divine messengers, the three things that kind of come to us, let us know we're not in control. And so exactly, you have a hard year, you're dealing with death, you're dealing with the loss of someone important to you, you're dealing with health issues, you're getting older. I had no idea what your age was. so, all these things I think require us more and more to be present, to notice the well-being, the happiness that is this space of welcome that we are, because some of the content going through that space of welcome is quite difficult. That's why we practice this for those times in our lives, those hard years, or those hard final years that come at some point when everything we've worked with before is going to matter.
Oh, may I say one more thing, Mark, quickly?
You may say one more thing, Tanis.
And that is when I said, I don't think I said it before, is that I was going to see a few people. I also had a 60th reunion locally. And it started the night before my sister died. And I didn't go to much of it, but I had a couple of old friends coming in, and I didn't want to get into everything. A couple of old friends I did. They were very good friends. But I thought, what do I say? I didn't say it to anybody, but I kept thinking that I would say, and I was saying it to myself, I didn't just have an awful year. What was my year like? It was one of the most awful and profound years I have ever had.
Mm.
And that's what, in a way, I wanted to say. And that had a lot to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanis. All right. So, anyone else? Someone else like to speak? You can talk about anything, ask anything. Not going to see me for a while. Or the group. Not going to see the group for a while. So a few of you I run into in my life and around here. JP.
Yes, I wasn't in attendance last week, so I listened to the video a few times actually. And speaking of the group and gratitude for the group, I was noticing, because I listened to the dialogue a couple of times, and I was really moved by how I think each one who spoke referenced what someone else in the group said that touched them. And it just kept going, starting with Leslie's comments. And I just love that it, because I can barely remember what you say, Mark, by the time we get to this.
I can barely remember what I say too.
So it's great to have the video. But
Yeah.
that's one thing I picked up on last time, and or by watching last week's. But the question I came here with today,
there is before the question, you're absolutely right. There's a kind of a contagion of wisdom that happens here, and it's not, it's not just me. It's like everybody kind of begins to bring their stuff here, and sometimes people will say the thing that is needed to balance out what I've said. I see that over and over again, that somebody else's comment actually adds a piece that needed to be said. Yeah.
There was a lot of, to me, there was a lot of teaching just in the dialogue among the group members.
Absolutely. All right. Didn't mean to cut off your question.
That's all right. So it's taken me many years to realize that being aware of or just being in awareness means for me a deep sense of physical sensation, either in the body, moving around the body, or if I'm just trying to settle down a bit. And I realized, and also it's been a concern of mine, that I can't. So I can simultaneously be with that sensation, and I call that awareness. In terms of thinking, I can't do that simultaneously. I can realize I've been thinking, and I can remember sometimes what I was thinking, but I cannot. And I don't know if this is important, but I cannot seem to follow thoughts as they're occurring.
Yes.
And tonight's talk with respect to deeper senses of awareness, I just wondered where I might jump off to that from feeling sensation in my legs. And you mentioned that it might be in the gut, and you mentioned that joy and happiness might be part of this deeper experience. And so I feel that in my chest, and I feel the other thing in my gut. But I'm being really concrete about it, and it makes me feel stuck.
Yeah, it may be. I mean, when you say you're being very concrete about it, what I'm talking about is a subtle body experience. You may have heard about this in kind of yogic physiology. There's a gross body and there's a subtle body. The subtle body is a way to talk about like felt states, and it includes emotions, but a whole lot more than emotions. So Like when you say feel love, for example, that is really a subtle body state. We associate it with the heart. It has a location. The subtle body has a geography to it, but it's not necessarily just the physical body. When you feel this kind of warmth towards someone in front of you, of affection, you're feeling the subtle body. It's not a gross sensation, it's a subtle sensation, but it's just as real. It's in some ways it's more important to be able to discern that sort of information. And so like the gut is very much a place where I feel like you can feel when you're in integrity and when you're kind of out of it in a certain way. There's something there that knows and gives you that information. So so sometimes when we just meditate, we're often just noticing the gross sensations of the body. But then as you kind of settle, you may be able to feel some of the subtler sensations of the body. Is that answering your question?
That's helpful. Yeah, it helps me to discern, I think, in a way that I appreciate and means something to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sometimes when I'm leading meditation, I'll encourage people to feel someplace in the body that feels good, since we tend to be obsessed with the aches and the itches and the things that are kind of uncomfortable. And then the rest of it all just feels kind of neutral. But if you actually look for a place that feels good, you tend to be looking toward the subtle body. Like what feels open, what feels alive, what just kind of draws you. It's really the subtle body that is the place where you're going to find the joy or the juice of the body. It's very rare, there's some, like eating a good taste or something is a coarse sensation of the gross body. Of course, the gross body can give us some pleasure, but sitting in meditation when you're not eating or doing anything that kind of gives that, it's going to be that subtle energy of aliveness, joy, expansiveness, ease, those sorts of things that you'll actually land on. So it's a way to explore the subtle body.
Okay,
Go ahead, Jane.
I just wanted to share a couple thoughts that came up tonight when you were talking about the space of knowing, and it made me think a little bit about what Diane shared about the wholesomeness. For me, I feel like it's almost like less of a cognitive experience and more of like a felt experience of discernment, like in the body. I feel like it feels like a space of experiencing. Like that's where the discernment comes from. Like, and for me, when I can come into that space of something about surrender feels like an unconditional yes. It feels like an unconditional yes to what is on an experiential level. And
Beautiful. I like that.
when
Like
I'm in that
definition.
space, and I guess I just want to throw this out there. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but someone spoke earlier about a diagnosis of their grandchild. And my son has some support needs. And I have to say, when I first discovered that, I had fear. And I'm not saying every day is easy, but oh my goodness, what a blessing. He has such a depth of experience. And we had a teacher years ago who worked with him who really practiced unconditional positive regard. And I feel like part of what I've learned to do through meditation and surrender and parenting and sort of reparenting myself is to have that unconditional yes and unconditional positive regard and surrender to the experiences that are occurring. And not that it's always easy, but then when I have that like ability to relinquish things and come into that state of like flow and not resisting my experience, that's when I feel the experience of love, the experience of peace and joy. I've used the word buoyancy. There's just something that feels really capacious about it, on an experiential level. And I just want to thank you for everything you've shared, because I think it's really been part of what's planted the seeds for me to experience that. So I'll stop. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jean. Unconditional yes. Beautiful. Leslie?
I just want to say this has been such a fulfilling and nourishing and beautiful last class. And I just want to thank everybody and you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Even though you said you were real tired before we started.
Well, that sometimes being tired helps,
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. I give in to something and it just comes through easier.
Yeah. Well, really good energy came through you. So thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So let's just take a moment here. We have just 3 minutes, and let's just focus on goodwill toward everybody in this class. Beginning with yourself. In this practice, just wishing yourself the best, to be happy, healthy, safe, and at ease. To find the way to go through life with all of its challenges. A place of happiness, health, safety, and ease. And goodwill is, on an energetic level, is in the heart. So just let that goodwill actually radiate like a subtle body wave or force from the heart to go through your body with the felt sense of goodwill toward this being that you are. And then let that same subtle body goodwill flavor go out to everybody in this group. Maybe there are some that are your favorites and some not so favorites. We do this preference thing in the mind. The mind does that. But in my experience, the heart is quite capable of offering it to everybody. It's only the mind that gets caught up in these judgments, but the heart actually sees each being, as a sensitive being. We're all struggling in one way or another with what life throws us. We can wish each other well. So just let that radiate from your heart to all the members of the class. And then let's just keep it radiating out beyond this group to all beings everywhere. Unconditional goodwill. May all beings be happy. Sabe sata sukha hontu. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well, be deeply well. So everyone, have a great summer. And continue to practice.